I remember being at a biblical counseling conference in those early days of trying to figure it out. And I walked by an exhibitor and there was a banner there that said Christian 12 steps. And I think I must have had a very strange look on my face because he started talking to me. And I just thought, that's wrong.
This is where it starts now. Break on through. Here we go.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fixed on Jesus podcast. My name is Rich, and I am joined, as always, by Mark Johnson Jr. How you doing, Mark?
Doing well. How about you?
Okay, I think we're in a rut. I say the same thing every time.
Yeah, it's a rut. It used to be a runaway train that we didn't know where it was going, and now
we do know, actually.
We do know.
Yeah, we do know.
Where's it going?
We're going to interview Liz.
Oh, that's right.
But we got to make sure everybody knows that our production maven, Heather Corbett, is also here. So, yep, Heather's here. It's been
Not long enough.
It's been not long enough. Yeah, exactly. And we're continuing with Liz Beck. How are you doing, Liz?
Good. Heather has a big job trying to keep the two of you in line.
Yes.
I'll say that. She does a good job.
She does a good job. And if we're out of line, it's because we don't listen very well,
Right.
as we said before.
Yes. That's exactly right. Welcome back. Thanks for making the drive again.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. Right.
I know it's not easy. You just make the trip back and forth.
Each
worth
time.
it.
That's right.
It's worth
Exactly. All right. So the last couple times we talked about your early life. We talked about your marriage with Rob. And now we're at about 2016.
Yes.
And
But we need to back up a little.
Okay.
Because Hope for Addiction actually started prior to Rob's death.
Oh, it did?
Yes,
How?
it did. Well, because after I, got divorced and trying to figure out what to do with my life, and the Lord just started stirring in me the question, what would it look like for the local church to care for addicts the way that our church cared for me and my family? And so just trying to figure out what that would look like and talking to a lot of people. And I remember talking to you one day and you said, we should just start our own nonprofit. I was like, okay. Had no idea what that meant. And so we had our kind of official launch in December of 2013.
13.
Yeah.
For our audio only folks, she was referring to Coleman, Rich Richardson,
Yes.
across the table from me,
Yeah.
not
Yes.
not Mark.
Yes.
So you know.
I didn't know you back then, Mark.
I was hardly alive back then.
Yeah, we did. I don't even remember that conversation, Liz, to be honest. But
Yes.
I do.
This is
I
all your
remember
fault.
you telling me
Mhm,
that
this
I
is
said
all your
that.
fault.
Yeah. So that was 2013, huh?
It was 2013. We had our first recovery meeting in July of 2014.
Okay.
And it was growing like crazy.
Yeah.
My kids were actually coming and they were very much enjoying being a part of the recovery meetings.
That's right.
And then Rob passed away. And so then that kind of, so things were going really well. I mean, the ministry was growing and Robert had been inviting his dad to come to the meetings.
Oh, yeah, that's
And
right.
so it was kind of a blow having, be almost 3 years into this and to have that happen was pretty tough.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that now. Yeah, that was rough. And so in the beginning, as we started, the vision was to try to come alongside local churches
Correct.
to help them care for and just counsel addicts. Yes.
Yep. Just to be, to enter in the ways that our church had entered in with us, be a part of that, not be afraid of it. And then what would it look like to do that? And how do we do that from a biblical perspective? What does that look like?
Talk about the landscape out there for some of the addict kind, coming, you say from a biblical perspective, there's a lot of material out there and a lot of organizations out there that try to help people overcome drugs and alcohol. Maybe give us just a quick snapshot on what you think is lacking.
There's very few, and any that are probably much smaller that wouldn't be, mainstream, but most even Christian kinds of organizations that attempt to help people with addictions still come from a basis of a secular view of addiction, as far as it being a disease model.
Okay.
They're not coming, they start with the world's view of addiction and then just add Bible verses, try to
So like
Christianize.
Celebrate Recovery does
Yeah,
that.
so try to Christianize it. Where in the early days, I didn't understand my convictions about it exactly, but I rejected that, and but I didn't really fully understand what it meant. So in those early days, we're really trying to figure out what it actually looks like to start with the Bible, not add the Bible in to something that is man-made.
Yeah.
And so those were, I remember being at a biblical counseling conference in those early days of trying to figure it out. And I walked by an exhibitor and there was a banner there that said Christian 12 steps. And I think I must have had a very strange look on my face because he started talking to me and I just thought, that's wrong. Like that can't exist. That doesn't make any sense to me that there's, I don't know. It didn't sit right with me. And so then just trying to figure out like, why do I believe that? And I need to have guidance from scripture to tell me why that's not right. And then what does it actually look like? And I think one of the things that is kind of a side to the story, but still kind of important part of the story is in 2012, my brother, who struggled with addiction his whole life too. He was in Puerto Rico and he was dying as a result of his addiction. And it's a very long, crazy story, but my mom and I went there and we brought my brother back and he almost died on that trip. It was a pretty traumatic situation. But trying to disciple my brother, so this was the year before we actually started Hope for Addiction. And so trying to disciple my brother with...
He came here for a while when he was...
He did, yeah. He was coming to the meetings once it started. But in that first year, like he had to learn to walk again. Like he literally was hours from death as a result of his addiction. And so trying to disciple him in that very real place of he didn't know how to live. He had been in his addiction so long, he just really couldn't function at all. And so, discipling him and what does that actually look like and helping him with very real, like, trauma responses and all of the things. And like, okay, no, the Bible actually does speak to this. And so trying to figure that out, it was kind of some training ground for me also in seeing how dramatic the change was in my brother. It took about 3 years to really see like real fruit, but it was real and it was only because of scripture and the gospel. And so I think that was part of that, like figuring it out in real time.
Yeah. I remember that. And so then when did you start in earnest?
Really, I think that with the launch of our recovery meeting in July of 2014.
Okay.
Because we started the meetings trying to figure out, like, what does this look like? And so I was preparing the meeting lessons every week and trying to figure out, well, what does this even look like? And how do we do this? And every week was, just pretty much taking what I was walking through in my own life for that week and putting it into some sort of discussion that would be relatable to addiction. So I think the very first one that I led was kind of, when you have a bunch of people criticizing you and telling you that you're wrong about everything, like how would you respond to that in a way that is humble? And we just started, like, that was like the first topic, and people were really connecting with it. And, so I think that was like really the launch of it. And the meeting was growing. We were having, 15, I think the very first meeting we had 14 people, and then figuring it out, and people were coming to church. And it was literally just me at that point. And the church was so gracious. Oh, we're going to support Liz in this thing she's doing. And, but people were coming and more people were coming to church, and we were taking, longtime attender and members seats in this church. And so people were getting their feelings hurt that we were taking their spot.
Oh gosh.
But it was awesome. But people were coming and really starting to connect, and it was good. It was a lot of really wrestling through like, what does this look like and how do we do that?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that was really when it started taking shape.
And now it's metamorphosized from that time, right?
Yes.
And so originally, part of what we wanted to do was try to set up meetings like that across the valley and other places who, other folks that would be interested in taking that
Yes.
curriculum, right? Because right now, how much curriculum have you written for those support meetings?
I think we have I think around 48 to 50.
Okay, so like a year's worth almost.
Yeah. But they repeat because,
Sure.
they're just the topics.
And it's a cyclical group,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
And that's pre-AI. You wrote that curriculum.
Yes, that
Oh,
was
yeah, for
blood,
sure.
sweat, and tears for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so then talk to us about some of the ways it's changed up until this point.
Well, I think COVID really changed a lot of things too, just as far as the church piece of it, because we had quite a few meetings that were taking place in multiple states. And so that part was really growing, but specifically here locally, as we were growing the meeting here, and I still had some connections with Teen Challenge because that has still kind of really been my heart of serving their graduates and their alumni. And so I was still pretty connected there. So I was inviting a lot of people. And so there were a lot of moms, single women coming from the Women's Center because I was going there every month and volunteering and things like that. So there was a lot of relationship building and they were coming, but it was hard to disciple them because they didn't have a stable place to live.
Right.
They didn't have, the ability to support themselves. And so I was just asking, I was putting it out on Facebook all the time. We have another mom who has need.
Needs a place to live.
Yeah. And so how do we do that? And I mean, over the years, my poor kids, we've had so many people staying in our house and living with us. And I look back on some of that and I'm like, what was I thinking? I mean, I had two dudes living in my house while I had a teenage daughter and a teenage son.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what was I thinking?
Not
Like, these are
wise,
things like I would never
Yeah, you
say,
don't counsel that.
no, please don't do that. And
Yeah,
yet
right.
that's what I was doing. It was so funny. I was going into downtown, sketchy places in Phoenix and picking people up and bringing them, and I was like, I would never encourage
You don't
someone to
ever
do that.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, that's what it was. That's what was before me. And so anyway, so we started just asking the question, and Zach Boomsma one day said to me in his, ever so Zach way, what can I do to shut you up? Or basically that was what he said, because I was just talking about it. He was joking, of course, but he's like, what do we need to do? And I was like, we need a house. And so he's like, all right, well, let's get a house. And so we started having meetings about what would it look like to have a house. And so we started working on that, and God provided a house. And
Well, not just God provided a house. Yes, he did. But how did God provide that house, Liz?
yeah, he provided that house.
No. Okay, so here's the part where I'm going to start. This is where you need to interview me, Mark.
Okay, Rich Coleman.
How did God provide that house?
How did God provide that house?
Liz emptied she got all the equity from her house that she was living in and bought another one.
So she took cash out of her.
She put her own money on the line.
I see.
And then bought another house. And so as a board member, I'm a board member in, what year was that, Liz?
2018.
So 18. In 2018, she goes, we need a house. And the only way I can see that we do this is that I take all the equity that I got in my house and buy something else. And we're like, wait a minute.
Right. Not the typical business plan.
Not the typical business plan.
Not the typical church thing.
And so we had, as a board, we were in a position like, do we approve this or not? But Liz wouldn't let us not approve it. And so, because like at the time, the budget for Hope for Addiction was like
little
$40,000, $50,000.
Yeah.
So we didn't have the money for that. I mean, and it was small. It was fledgling and small for a long time. And we were always like right on shoestring, and we're thinking, I don't know if we can last another year. I don't know if we can last another year. And then Liz makes that move. Because just tell everybody, what would happen if a single mom has no place to live, and goes in the system, what happens to her and the kids?
She usually goes back to the old environments
But
because,
like if they're in the state system, like can she live with her kids?
well, I mean, it depends on the situation and where she's living because a lot of times it's not a safe place for the kids. So there's potential for the kids to be removed or she'll relapse and go back into drugs or whatever.
And do they split the kids up often from the parents? Like so if there's a group home with moms, do those moms have their kids there with them?
Well, at the time that we started, that didn't exist.
So if a mom went in a group home and had 2 kids, those kids are put where? Foster system?
Or with family members because there wasn't housing for moms with children at the time.
So they separated the
Yeah.
moms and the kids.
Yep.
And the model you pioneered, there is now.
There's a couple programs that do offer housing support for moms with kids.
But you pioneered that before they did. And so moms with kids could come live at the house you bought and put in Hope for Addiction's name to get on their feet, get discipled, grow, oftentimes become Christians, learn how to live life, and then get up on their feet and go somewhere else. Yes?
Correct.
And so the first house opened in
February of 2019.
Okay.
And we had just a small house,
3 bedrooms.
3 bedrooms, and we had 2 moms that we had been working with. One of them came and had her son 2 weeks later, and we didn't even have a house at that point. So she was living with one of our staff members, and then moved in with a young family from church. So, I mean, she had this newborn and a screaming 14-month-old toddler. And then the house opened. And so she was the first mom to go into that house. And that's Danielle Solari.
Danielle Sturz she got saved and
Yep.
baptized here.
Yep. And she's still a part of our church. And her son that was born with us was born in August of 2018. And the house opened in February of 2019. So yeah, they're part of our family now. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and go ahead.
So was that instant confirmation that you took a risk for the sake of the kingdom when you saw Danielle's conversion?
Totally. I did not see it as a risk, honestly.
That's what I mean. It was you were in that tunnel vision of this is what the Lord wants me to do. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, it was like I don't know. I mean, to me, again, if it's something that the Lord's calling me to do, it's not a risk, no matter how it turns out.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
And so that was how we started that and figuring out, like, what does this program look like now? How do we support these moms, and how long does it take, and the life skills and the rules.
Talk about life skills the moms need.
Yeah, I mean, how to cook, how to clean,
Yeah.
parenting support. So we're talking about,
Budgets.
just like the basics of life. I mean, we had one lady who didn't. I mean, a lot of them don't know how to cook. I mean, she put food in the oven on a paper towel, which promptly caught on fire. I mean, these are just inabilities, either from their upbringing, they didn't have anybody to teach them. So sometimes it's just that basic
Yeah.
of those kinds of skills that they need, and then how to be a good parent, how to care for the needs of their children, and how to have good time management, how to budget their money. And all the ladies that finish the program, they leave prepared for the next season in every single way. Financially, they have paid off debt. They have had a good plan to move forward. So the model that we put together was a kind of a mix of strong accountability and support while living real life. So they take their kids to daycare and they work full time. And so they're juggling all of life as well as the things that we have them do in the program. We connect them with a woman in the church for weekly discipleship. They get connected with a biblical counselor who's counseling them with all of the things of the past and helping them to get all of that sorted out. And every single lady who comes in the program hears the gospel. And whether they finish the program or not, the gospel is shared with every single one.
That's incredible. I want to hear even more about that, but I want to linger on that boardroom meeting when that's just out of the ordinary, very out of the ordinary. How did that go? Like, what was your guys' initial reaction? How did Liz convince you? Did you guys have to pray about that? Did Liz just yell at you? She doesn't seem like a woman who takes no for an answer to begin with.
Well, I knew she
threatened to fire you even.
Yeah, I'm on the board. So she gave me a preview before going into that, and I thought, oh man, I mean, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, Liz, are you sure? And she was sure. And I said, okay, I'll back you. And so I said, I think it's out. I would never recommend this. I would never require this, but I don't think I can stand in the way of this. And that's what happened, so.
Well, in fairness, leading up to that, I had done a lot of meetings with foundations and, organizations that help other organizations get loans for capital projects and things like that. I had applied for a grant from Dignity Health, and everyone was supportive of the idea and the vision, but no one was willing to take a risk financially to make it happen.
Yeah.
Because all we had at the time was a meeting.
Right.
There was no asset. There was no model except look. And they're like, well, AA does that.
But you identified the problem. You identified the stumbling block for someone getting counseling and getting discipled and evangelized to separating them from their kids was a huge barrier of entry. Is that fair to say?
Well, yeah, just having a stable place to live.
Right.
They didn't have stable housing.
All right, that's good. But why don't we stop here? Because I want to save some content for the next episode. So.
And if you have any questions, feel free to email us at production@centergilbert.com. Check before or after this episode for additional parts. And thank you for tuning in.
See you next time.